I mean, this isn't like an X-Man college. If if the powers were a little better, then maybe.
Nerd Reactor, roll out.
Institute, you're in this. I would say you're like the good guy, right?
I would say after quite a few years of playing some villains and bad guys and untrustworthy characters, I'm finally playing someone who's found his moral compass, and he's standing up for what's right.
How does that feel? Like finally, like you're playing a good character. Do you feel free at all?
I mean, I do, because I sort of, at the risk of sounding pious, I am someone who sort of identifies with the fight to be a good person in the world as much as I can possibly be. And this is a character to whom it's important to be a really good man, but it's really fun to be a villain sometimes. Some of the roles that I've played, like in The Punisher or Westworld, are, almost borderline psychotic characters, but it's so fun to play. But I really enjoyed. I think I was looking for somebody to play that was like a real symbol of goodness and protection as well. And the older I get, the more I feel so protective of these younger and younger casts that I tend to be working with, and you want to stand up for the things that are right.
And so I want to ask you, between two options, going to regular school or going to the Institute, suffering but getting powers, which one would you choose and why? I
mean, you would have to be actually insane to want to go and spend any time in the Institute. I mean, they're being abused and tortured and experimented on. I think the ability to kind of move a paper cup a couple of inches is not a good trade-off. So I would pick hiding under the radar and going normal school any day. I mean, this isn't like an X-Man college. If the powers were a little better, then maybe.
Oh, the Institute, yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I didn't like school very much. I like my teachers, but not really the school itself, no. So I think I would choose the Institute. Yeah.
You would suffer a lot to get powers, right?
Yeah. I mean, you got to do what you got to do, right?
So what's the first thing in real life, if you had those powers, the first thing you would do?
I think I would just stop playing jokes on people and like lift stuff and move stuff that shouldn't be moved, or like pluck things from people's heads and slip it into conversation, and they'd be like, what the fuck?
You're a prankster.
Hey?
You're a prankster.
Possibly. Maybe that's the term, yeah.
And for those watching, like, what can you give us a little detail about your character?
Yeah, I mean, Luke Ellis, he is described from the get-go as a child genius. I think he's quite cheeky, he's quite defiant when it comes to the people that he's trying to battle at the Institute, the authority figures. But at the end of the day, he's just a little boy, and the things he endures in the place are horrible. And I think that's what I wanted to get across when playing the role, for sure, yeah.
And also, I know why you would choose the Institute, knowing after being a part of it, once you get those powers, you're like gonna bring everything down.
yeah, for sure, yeah.
And so I want to ask, in real life, you had the choice between school or going to the Institute, suffering, but getting powers. Which one would you choose and why?
School. Girl, education is a power within itself. Don't get it twisted. At the end of the day, yes, it is very cool to have powers, but torture over light homework, I'll take some. You know what I mean? I feel like it's a fair trade-off.
Everywhere. You get tortured, but you get the powers, and then you take down the Institute, then you go back to school.
Fair enough. You know what? I'd be the coolest kid. I'd have the most stories to tell, so everyone would be at my lunch table.
Oh, gosh. I have to say the Institute. I love my TK. I love that. I actually did tutoring when I was on set in the Institute, and I've got a like fake diploma that says I've graduated from the Institute. So I value that very highly.
You would suffer all the crap for those powers.
But I could levitate water, and that's so cool.
That's a difficult question, but if I had powers as strong as Avery's, honestly, I might go to the Institute. But then normal school is also pretty fun, so. But I like superpowers, so I'd go to the Institute.
I love school, and I think that I would choose school. The stuff that's in the Institute is pretty dark. I will say telekinesis, pretty cool, but like, what would I use it for? You know what I mean?
You know what Joe would use it for?
Oh, I've seen it. You're gonna see it too. Yeah, I think I'd choose school. I love school.
I'm going to go with actual school, which is the first time that's ever been the answer for me.
So first time. So you're saying like regularly you would not choose school?
Well, I grew up to play make-believe for a living, so no, I'm going to go with, unless it's drama school, in which case, yeah, I'll be there all day.
And for those watching right now, how would you describe your character?
I would describe Kalisha as a force. She has such an intangible light while also being so altruistic and just so innately protective over everybody around her, even though she herself is suffering. And I feel like that is a testament to womanhood. It's a testament to young girls taking ownership and being strong. And I'm just so proud to represent a character like her.
I would describe George as he's a comedian. He's trying to not let anything get to him. He's got this kind of shell built up of all the funny things he says and all the jokes he pulls. But I think on the inside he's pretty scared. He's pretty nervous, and he's just trying to cover it.
So I guess for you, like as an actor, how do you go about like your character scared on the inside, but is there ever that moment on a project, and how do you overcome that?
I think it's just fake it till you make it, honestly, because this was my first gig and I was so scared coming into it, especially working with like such talented actors and such skilled people. But my agent actually told me, act like an actor, like act like you know what you're doing, and that's how it worked for me. Yeah.
So
Acts younger than he is, but super fun, energetic, and loves having friends.
and with this, the different powers, right? Like if you can have any powers you want, what would it be and why?
Out of the two of them?
Out of anything.
Oh, out of anything. The power to choose my power. At will, change it at will, that'd be my power. Because then I can just keep changing it.
There's a show called Heroes back then. This character can do any power, so you should watch that. But it's pretty violent.
Yeah, I for some reason like watching like thrilling shows. So yeah.
Siler, remember that Siler. Type it in on Google. Watch that. You'll be like, oh, that's the Siler. Yeah.
Okay, well I might watch that. Actually, I've been looking for a show to watch. So yeah.
Only the first season of Heroes. That's it. Don't watch the rest.
Yeah. Okay.
I think Iris is someone that I really resonated with because she has such a strong sense of loyalty, and I think this show has a huge theme about friendship, and I think she's selfless in many, many ways, and she has a sort of quiet strength that I saw in the book and in the movie, in the TV show, which I really appreciated, and I think that viewers will be able to empathize with her and relate to her in many ways, because at the end of the day, we're all kids, and I think that all the kids have such great chemistry, and it really is such a playground sort of friendship. Yeah.
And so, because you mentioned you don't want telekinesis in real life, but is there any powers you would want in real life?
Absolutely. Teleportation. Yeah, I think period. That's it.
What would be the first thing, where would you go if you had that, like right now?
I think I travel just so much. I go to school here, but also I was filming in Halifax for this, so sometimes it could be hard to manage both. So, but you know what? I'll say Brazil. Brazil's always been on the bucket list. Brazil, and then maybe like Greece, Ibiza, hit all of the European.
So Brazil and Sao Paulo?
Yes.
So you're partying.
Party on. You get out of the institute, you gotta party. You gotta celebrate.
All right, so you're in this. You're kind of like the bad guy. Safe to say?
What do you mean? Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very safe to say, yeah.
Okay, and can you give us a little detail about your character in this?
Yeah, he firmly believes in the mission of the Institute, and along with Dr. Hendricks, played by the wonderful Robert Joy, he will do anything and everything that needs to be done to make sure the Institute successfully accomplishes their goal. And rarely does that involve taking the health and well-being of the kids into consideration.
So would you say is make-believe but playing a villain more fun than, let's say, playing the opposite of that?
Oh, absolutely. And in a Stephen King story, even more so. It was a blast. I think the freedom to explore a character so full of ego, which a villain allows for you to do, in this world was such a pleasure, such an honor.
And last question would be, just in this show, there's a lot of questions about like what's right and what's not, and the messages about like, just fighting for what you believe in and taking down the authority. So for you, how does that resonate with you?
Yeah, I think that's one of the themes in this show that I'm very passionate about is we're touching on unchecked authority, unquestioned and unchallenged authority. And in these kids having to band together to find a way to save themselves and stand up to this institution.
The Institute, a lot of crazy stuff is happening, and you're behind the scenes getting to direct that. So what was it like just trying to make sure everything is, like on a set, making sure everything's good, but still make it look like it's crazy?
Well, I think that's true whenever I direct and exec produce. You're always trying to make it right, and as right as you can. I'm a big believer in imperfection, and life can be messy. And in relation to the kids on the show, I wanted real kids who felt real. 3 or 4 of our kids had never acted before, let alone doing television or film. Some had done some theater. Our lead, Joe Freeman, had never acted, even though it's in his family and in his genes with his parents. So it was to be able to capture life in that way and make it seem real, but know that we're pulling rabbits out of a hat. And thank God we're not really putting these young people in chairs and making them feel pain. But at the same time, Ben Cavell and I never wanted to make a sadistic show. And that's one of the reasons we cast it a little older than Steven wrote it, which he's thrilled with. He's thrilled with the show and what we did, and joined us as an exec producer, which he doesn't always do.
So what was that like? Was he on the set checking things out?
Never know. But he was looking at cuts I got him and read every script and was incredibly positive about what we were doing, with an occasional thought here and there, which was always brilliant.
I think like with these stories about just these kids learning what they're capable of and fighting the authority, what do you think about these stories that just has audiences engaged?
Well, one thing I didn't want to make was the X-Kids, even though those movies are very, very popular and do really well. I wanted to make sure, which is one of the reasons when Steven sent it to me asking if I wanted to make it a movie or a series. And I said, Steven, you've written a 700-page book that is full of brilliant, rich characters who get to know each other and the audience gets to know them. And I feel one of the great things about episodic is that you can spend the time and get to know the people, because first and foremost, if you don't relate, if you don't care to the people, if you don't relate and care about the people, whatever obstacle course the characters may be in, physical, emotional, whatever, horror, suspense, thriller, you have to invest and care about the people. So to me, that's always the first thing.
You're the writing team, you're the executive producer, and every time like I imagine a writer adapting a book, I always imagine like the people, like the internet, like, oh, they didn't do it this way or that way. How do you go about things and making sure that either like, you're delivering this product, people's gonna love it, and making sure that nothing's going to like bring you down?
Well, yes. I mean, ultimately, you're certainly aware that you're making the show for people, and I suppose you have sort of an ideal reader or viewer in mind. But to an extent, I think you have to ignore that and make the show that is to your taste and that feels true to you. And look, I would be lying if I didn't say that, Stephen King, to a large extent, is the person whose opinion I don't know if I care most about in the world, but it's certainly up there. And so, to have him endorse the show and want to be an EP on the show, and to have him love what we've done is just, that is so gratifying and sort of armors you against, I don't know, every other reaction is kind of interesting, and you want people to like it and like it in some wide way, but if Stephen King thinks we did right by him, then I'm good.
It's a good bucket list, like Stephen King likes this.
That's exactly right. That's how it is. Certainly when you sign on to this, that's who you're trying to please, and it seems we have.
And just like with the Institute, the concept of this, of just these kids going through this, and there's powers, but then they're being tortured. So what was that like, trying to write these and making sure like it's still a story that people want to watch?
Well, listen, that's a great question. I mean, we were very aware that we don't want the show to be sort of difficult to watch. I mean, look, difficult things happen and sort of horrible things happen to these kids, but we never wanted the show to feel kind of unrelentingly bleak. I mean, it's shot through with humor, and it's really about the relationships between these kids. And look, Jack, my partner, the director, says all the time, you know, the magic of Lost is that, of course, nobody wants to be in a plane crash and marooned on an island with a bunch of strangers. But if you had to be, you would want to be on this island with these strangers. And I guess very similarly, I feel like nobody wants to be kidnapped in the middle of the night and taken to some awful place called the Institute. But if you had to be, you would want to be here at this institute with these kids. And I think, I hope we pulled that off.
And I think the casting choice is very interesting in how, let's say, for example, Mary Louise Parker, known for playing like the good guy, or like a character you want to root for, and then now here, villain, but then we have Ben Barnes, who's known for playing the bad guys, and now he's the opposite. So what was that like?
Oh, I'm glad you noticed that. I mean, that was, well, first of all, both of them rose to the occasion, and look, they're both such wonderful, experienced, interesting, deep actors that we were never really worried about whether they could pull it off, but it felt like such an opportunity to have Mary Louise play a real villain, which she's never really done, and to have Ben play, like, yes, as you say, a very sort of stoic, classic hero, which he's very rarely asked to do. That felt like just a wonderful opportunity to sort of turn the way everybody sees them on its head, which, you know, it's always fun when you can do that. It feels subversive and yeah, cool.